Donald Trump is now on a warpath against the BBC, the British Broadcast Corporation, bringing $1 billion lawsuit over the doctored video, the false claims that they've made. Now, we got Donald Trump chiming in on this. We got Joe Rogan chiming in on this. And we're going to talk about maybe some other lawsuits that might come forward in the future. There's a lot to get into. Let's get into it. Ladies and gents, welcome back. Hit that like button on the way in. And if you're new here, my name is Clyde. Welcome to the show. Let's get right into it. The British Broadcast Corporation is in some hot water today. Donald Trump bringing a $1 billion lawsuit saying, retract, apologize for the false defamatory documentary, or face the $1 billion lawsuit. Now, why don't we just get into it? This is what was said, right? So British Broadcast Corporation put this out. Remind you, this is a government corporation. So the government of Britain put this together, and they had this lie where they took a clip and they spliced it with another clip from like 50 minutes later and tried to make him look like an insurrectionist when he was actually saying something quite nice.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
So instead of calling for insurrection, it turns out he was actually cheering on the process. Now, Donald Trump chimed in on this on the news just yesterday, saying, yeah, I'm just gonna have to sue them. This is just what do you do? You're supposed to be our allies. Crazy.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it, and their top echelon.
Director General and the CEO
This
both
is
resigned.
within one of our great allies. You know, this is supposedly our great ally, BBC. The government has a chunk of that one, I guess, but that's a pretty sad event. They actually changed my January 6th speech, which was a beautiful speech, which was a very calming speech, and they made it sound radical. And they actually changed it. What they did was rather incredible. They're showing me the results later on, the results of what they did, how they butchered it up. But it was very dishonest, and the head man quit, and a lot of the other people.
Best speech ever. Obviously, it was a good speech, and they did butcher it up, and they did make it look like something else. Something where, this brought on a investigation, this brought on an impeachment, this brought on so many things. This is meddling by a foreign government in U.S. political affairs. This is really a big story. This is not something to just ignore. And Joe Rogan has a lot to say about this. He gets right into it about how nuts this actually is.
You see the BBC thing? The BBC thing is crazy. The head of BBC had to resign because they took a film of Trump from January 6th, the speech that he gave, and they edited it so something that he said 52 minutes later, they put right after when he said something to make it look like he was trying to get people to go attack people and fight at the Capitol.
Wow.
And it's not what
he did that to you all the time.
But this one's nuts. This not only is this one nuts, but this one is for a literal president of the greatest country the world's ever known. He's the president, and you're lying about what he said publicly, which is on the internet, which anybody can see. Like, it is the clearest indication of how that woke shit was rotting people's brains, and is still, but just less. You know what I mean? It was on the march then, and they all felt like they had to go along with it. And so, and by any means necessary, we must make sure that, so they decided to paint a different version of what he said. And they're now. They're
BBC.
60 Minutes did it with the Kamala Harris interview, but they did it the other way. They made it look like she had a good answer, which is it's so crazy. Like, you guys are supposed to be the news.
Right.
You're not supposed to be the propaganda arm of whatever party you support. This is nuts. This is nuts. And BBC is always like the one you quote when you want to seem smart. I was watching this thing on the BBC. Oh, yeah. Dude, you watch the BBC? You must be Smart.
You must be so smart because you're listening to that kind of propaganda. It really is unbelievable. And the BBC have been caught on this a bunch of times. Elon Musk recorded one of his own interviews as the BBC was reporting or trying to interview him. And the interviewer was caught lying in these own questions, trying to make it look like X had become this platform for hate speech and all this other stuff. And Elon Musk just responds by saying, "Can you show me where this is happening? I'd like to see it." Turns out he just made it up.
Well, hang on a second. You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. And I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well...
That's false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not... I mean,
he starts off by saying, "I saw it personally," and then says, "No, I didn't see it personally. Other people are reporting on it." This is how these propagandists work. It's unbelievable, and it's great. It's great that Elon Musk had this recorded separately so that people could see exactly what went down. Because I'll tell you what, the edited version probably didn't show the same stuff. Now, this has been going on for some time, and across many platforms. In fact, Donald Trump has sued YouTube, Disney, Meta, and they've all settled. And this is an article talking about the inside Donald Trump's $90 million payday where he won, and they all settled out of court. Now the BBC is, well, they're just going on a different path entirely. But where it's very different is YouTube, Disney, Meta, they're all private businesses. The BBC is a state broadcaster. They're owned by the British government. That's correct. And their top brass are stepping down. And then at the same time, they're trying to say that they're not institutionally biased.
I would like to say it has been the privilege of my career to serve as the CEO of BBC News and to work with our brilliant team of journalists. I stepped down over the weekend because the buck stops with me. But I'd like to make one thing very clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased. That's why it's the world's most trusted news provider.
Why did you fail to deal with the mistakes that were made?
And see my teams. Thank you so much.
Right, do you think that the journalists are institutionally corrupt like President Trump says? Do you think the journalists
are corrupt? Our journalists aren't corrupt.
Yeah, of course they're not corrupt. That's the propagandist says as she, in disgrace, quits her job, resigns, and goes off into the sunset. And this is how it always works. It always works. But what's going to be is the taxpayer is going to be on the hook for this one, for $1 billion settlement lawsuit. This is insane. And well, here's Nigel Farage. He was on another talk show talking about, yeah, this is institutionally biased, and it always has been.
That quite rightly we can say is no longer impartial, and there is institutional bias, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, Trump is just really the final straw, isn't it? And by the way, I mean, I did speak to the president on Friday, and I can't even tell you how angry he was. As he said, is this how you treat allies? I mean, it's a very strong point. It's a very strong point, isn't it? I mean, you know, without America, we are basically defenseless. And to be stitched up by our national broadcaster, really, he was very, very angry. But look, this isn't just about Trump, whatever Ed Davey says. I mean, I remember the Wilson report 20 years ago, where the BBC admitted that their coverage of the European Union and immigration had not been impartial. And we go through the years and we look at climate change, we look at net zero, we look at what they put out from Hamas about what's happening in Gaza. On issue after issue after issue, you see deep, inbuilt bias. Now, I think
that's exactly right. Deep inbuilt bias. Where else we might see that? We might see that with another crown corporation, another government-run news agency right in Canada. That's right. Just north of the United States, also running mad propaganda for the liberal establishment. That's right. Even on election day, they couldn't help themselves as they were covering the Donald Trump winning the presidential election.
You're talking about the propaganda campaign and the playbook of Trump. This is not new. This is not surprising. This is directly out of Hitler's playbook. This is out of an autocrat playbook. This is a way to, I mean, the things that Trump has done masterfully, frankly, is to get the entire, to get a big part of the population to believe that the game is rigged and to sow distrust in public institutions and the free press.
Oh, public institutions and the free press? Why would we have distrust with them? I don't know, because they're running propaganda. Now, it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And not even just the state publisher in Canada is running propaganda against Donald Trump, the president of the United States. We have the premier of Ontario who ran an ad with propaganda with an out of context clip of President Reagan talking about tariffs, where they flipped the script and made it look like he was against tariffs when he was actually giving a speech defending the right for the president to put tariffs on countries, as he was doing that in Japan. He was doing that to Japan in the 1980s. It's unbelievable. But I put this question out there. I said, when Donald Trump is done with the BBC, should he then go after the CBC? Now, there was lots and lots of comments on that, but this one really resonated with me. Maple Leaf MAGA said, yes, totally. And for the people saying that it's our money if he sues them, are forgetting that we have already given them $1.6 billion a year. We're already doing that. This way, it would be a one-time payment, and we're done. Defund the CBC, disband it, say forget it. They should be gone. The BBC should be gone as well. And yeah, they made the taxpayer liable in this situation. That should be the end of the line. Not just canning the CEO, not just canning the reporters that did this. Why don't we just can the whole idea of the state running a propaganda outlet? I don't know. I'd love to leave this one with you guys, though. Should, after Donald Trump goes after the BBC, should he then turn his eyes to the CBC and perhaps bring lawsuit there for the endless Trump derangement syndrome that they've been I guess propagating? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.